Hi, Kat Livingston, dietitian. I am back to talk to you about digestion and absorption and what happens when you eat food. Whenever I'm working with my patients, no matter if they're in the hospital, if they're coming to see me as an outpatient, I want them to have a really good understanding of what happens when they eat food. About 5 years ago, I went to a great symposium put on by Dignity Health in Northern California, talking about insulin, the pancreas, and it helped me really change how I understood about that. So angels are back. This light has not flickered a single time since the last video. That is just cracking me up. Okay, so I have this. This is an illustration actually from one of my textbooks that I really liked. And this is great for dietitians. We can understand that these are carbohydrates, CHO, we got our carbs, we got our protein, and we have fat. So macronutrients are proteins, carbs, and fat. Those are three things that you need in abundance for your body to function correctly. Micronutrients are your vitamins and your minerals. So what happens when you eat food? Well, when you eat protein, it starts to break down a little bit in your stomach. The saliva has enzymes in it. When you start eating food, that starts breaking all that stuff down. But really where all the action is in your intestines. So protein, that is an energy source, a potential energy source, but your body uses it to build. It uses it to build everything, your hair, your skin, your nails, your red blood cells, your bones. You need it, and your body can store some of it and use some of it for energy, but it's not its preferred source of fuel. And also, you need extra protein when you're sick, when you are in an inflammatory state, like when you're sick, overweight, aging. All of these things require extra protein. So the equation is right around, for most people, about 1 gram per kilogram, which requires you to convert your weight into the metric system. So divide your pounds by 2.2, times that by 1, and that's about where you might need protein. This is very generalized. This is for all ages, so very generalized. You'll need more if you're sick. You'll need more if you are, again, in aging and obese and all these things. It's called sarcopenia of aging. It's an inflammatory state when you're overweight, when you're aging. Okay, so here's the deal. So we have protein, we have carbs, and we have fat. Protein is here, right? So it's starting to get broken down here and used. These little blocks right here are carbohydrates. Now, when you eat carbohydrates, your pancreas, hopefully, makes insulin. And insulin's job is to transport the energy from the food that you eat to get into the cell to get used for energy. However, as we go through life and maybe we're not eating as often, we're skipping breakfast, we're eating a lot more carbs than we need to, we're not eating adequate fruits and vegetables, especially them veggies. If we are eating a high fat and carb meal and then taking what I call a carb coma nap, all of these things give us insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the inability of insulin to bind to the cell, to get in there, to get used for fuel. A lot of our body functions are like a lock and key function going on, right? So insulin goes along to the cell, it can't bind on it. So what happens is the pancreas overcompensates and it makes extra insulin. Flood the channel, get that insulin out there to get used, to get that food into the cell. So that means your pancreas is working harder than it needs to, okay? You can have insulin resistance for many years and never develop type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, but you can, it just really, that's a hereditary factor, really plays such a huge part. But when we have insulin resistance, it tends to get worse. So that's the 5-pound creep a year. That's where we start seeing, people like, why do I keep gaining this 5 pounds? Well, when we have extra insulin floating around, insulin does one of two functions. It is a storage, yes, I said storage, or transport hormone. So if we have extra insulin floating around, what's it going to do? It's going to create storage. Where's it going to create storage? Usually people can guess this one. Little ding, 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 ding on your belly. So if you have significant belly fat, you have insulin resistance. Okay? So how do we fix that? How do we address that? There's a few different ways to do that. But what I want you to understand is that when you are trying to control your blood sugars, relating to diabetes, relating to weight loss, it's all connected. When you are trying to keep that pancreas from working harder, when you're trying to lose weight, what we're really trying to do is control the pancreas response. We don't want your pancreas working harder than it has to. Some people don't get diagnosed with prediabetes, and then they end up getting just full-on diabetes. And it's like, how did this happen? Well, we didn't take care of the problem when we didn't even know it was a problem. We weren't testing. It is really important to get your HbA1c tested. Please ask your doctor. What that is we also call it the tattletale test. You can go into your doctor's office and say you haven't really eaten breakfast and your glucose is going to be okay. However, your HbA1c, what that shows is how much carbs what your blood sugar has been at over a 3-month period. So you kind of can't lie with that one. So a lot of people can go and go, oh, well, my blood sugar is fine. My blood sugar is fine. That's because you're only looking within a short little time frame. Your HbA1c shows over a longer period, and it's really important to get tested for that. When I have patients coming to me and they are overweight or obese, and especially if they have a lipid panel that is high cholesterol, especially with the high triglycerides, I always ask the doctor to please get an HbA1c test. Heck, I ask them to get that no matter if their cholesterol is okay or not. It's just a good thing to check, see where your pancreas is at. You do not want to lose function in your pancreas. Don't mess with the pancreas. It makes all of your enzymes for breaking down your food. It makes your ghrelin, it makes your insulin. It is so vitally important. Less than 10% of pancreas transplants are even successful. You have pancreas cancer, it is not a good way to go. Don't make your pancreas work harder than it has to, okay? So what's going to drive up those carbs? Well, we'll talk about the food choices here in a few minutes, but what I want you to really understand is that when you are eating carbs, we're trying to control that pancreas response. One of the ways that we can help that is by eating whole grains. So when you are having carbs, when you are having grains, make sure they're whole grains. Fiber, right here, helps control your blood sugars. So you see how these little blocks are broken apart and these are all together? That's supposed to show a complex carb versus more of a simple carb, or the carbs getting broken apart. Here's what I want you to understand. The more complex the carbohydrate, meaning the harder your body has to work to break it down, the better controlled your blood sugars are. So we need that fiber. That fiber is really, really important. So that is the difference between brown rice and white rice, whole wheat bread and white bread. We'll talk about starches in another video. Don't want to keep these too long, otherwise we'll lose your interest, but we want these to be informational and hopefully will help you. So we talked about protein. We talked about carbs. Some. We'll talk about them more. Here's the last one though. Macronutrients. We have protein, we have carbs, and we have fat. Now, so here's the deal with fat. Fat, here we go. Where is it? Here it is. Fatty acids, right down here, okay? Fat is the last thing that gets absorbed. It is what stays with you and helps you be satisfied at a meal. When you don't get enough fat, you're hungry. When you don't get enough fat, I always like to say, when you don't get enough fat, you're hungry an hour later. That's the Chinese food problem. When you don't get enough fat, you crave carbs. Fat tells your body, I'm good. It quiets ghrelin. Ghrelin is the hormone that makes your tummy growl. I always call it ghrelin. It shuts it up. I like to tell my patients, I will put this in bold and in all caps on their goals. If you are craving carbs or sweets, go eat some nuts. Go eat some avocado. Go have a spoonful of sugar-free nut butter, peanut butter. Something in there that's going to help satisfy you. And stop being brainwashed to be fat starved. Healthy fats are not going to make you gain weight. Not the way that we think they are. If you want to have some nuts, have some stinking nuts. If you want some avocado, go have some avocado, please. They're not going to hurt you. The carbs are not so high in them that they're going to mess with our pancreas. Plus, they're fiber. They have a bunch of fiber. These are healthy fats with fiber. They're not going to make you gain weight. I had a patient, I think about 2 weeks ago. It was her third visit. You know, we talk about troubleshooting, we give goals. The second visit is, oh, how are you doing with those goals? And then the third visit is, okay, how are you really doing with those goals? So the second visit is, okay, well, let's tweak this. We got to eat often. We'll talk about that in a separate video. Why do you have to eat more often? Why breakfast is the most important meal of the day? We've all heard this. It's not like we don't know, but we don't really understand. And when we don't really understand, what's the reason of following the recommendations? It won't do anything. Anyway, back to the patient. So that third month, the second visit, I just said, I put that on there. If you're craving carbs or craving sweets, please go eat some healthy fat. Also, I highly, highly recommend all of my patients, when they're trying to lose weight, control those blood sugars, especially my diabetics, have avocado about an hour to an hour and a half before bed, please. Just plain avocado. You want a little salt and pepper, Mrs. Dash and fresh pepper on there. Beautiful. Totally fine. That's going to do a few things. A whole cup of avocado has 1 gram of sugar. That is not going to mess with our pancreas. 10 grams of fiber. Hello, what did we just talk about? That fiber is really important for not making a bunch of insulin. But the other thing is it has 22 grams of yummy, healthy fat. And by having that alone, they are literally putting themselves in fat burning and losing weight while you sleep. Losing weight while you sleep. I am not even kidding you. Those who know about the magic pill and keto diet understand this, but this is healthy fat. I am not recommending that you start eating, burgers and with cheese and that's it. That is keto done wrong. Okay? No. But have an avocado as an evening snack is fantastic. So that patient at her second visit said, let's get those avocado in there for your snack. Eat them anytime you want. Anytime. Go for your nuts. She came back the third month, 8.8 pounds lost. How? Why? Huh? Okay. Well, I said, what did you do? She said, all I did is I made sure I snacked. I was eating the 6 times a day, but I was eating a bunch of nuts and avocado. And I was like, that is beautiful. At first I would only recommend almonds, pecans, hazelnuts, and walnuts because those are the really healthy nuts. But then I have a whole chart, started looking up all the nuts. I wanted to know You know, Costco has a wonderful deluxe unsalted mix. I love it. It's cashews, pistachios, pecans, and almonds. Really good. I usually add a little bit extra pecans because I really love pecans. But I wanted to know, can I recommend that? How many carbs are in there? Can I recommend any nuts? Are they all going to be okay? I was really surprised with what I found. I would think macadamia nuts are going to be really high in carbs, right? They're sweet and delicious and yummy. Well, macadamia nuts are the highest in calories. They are also the highest in fat, but guess what? They're also highest in the monounsaturated fat. That is the good fat. You eat nuts. You go ahead, eat your nuts and seeds. And yes, I am a granola in Oregon. I get that. Little nickname for Oregonians, especially when they're healthy. Little granola here. I'm a granola chick. Absolutely. I even had a nut and seed bar at my wedding. But they're fantastic for you. Let's talk a minute also about what happens in your brain when you eat fat and why. Actually, I'm going to make a separate video on that one because that's going to take a couple of minutes. We really do need to talk about how important fats are for adequate thinking and memory and helping prevent Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia. We really, really need those fats. Okay, so I'm going to tie it up there. So we have protein, carbs, and fats. We'll talk about more of the carbs and the veggies and kind of how that is going to work in the next video. And I'm also going to talk about the importance of fat and I'm going to talk about the importance of fat for your brain. Thank you.